So this is just a quick recording regarding the layout of the pipe network in nuclears. Bearing in mind this diagram may feel like it's overwhelming, but when you know what you're looking at, um, you'll understand the diagram a little bit more. So let me get the diagram up here. Okay, so this is the entire plan of the nuclears, piping and plumbing. So here we got the circulation pump, we got the pipe for liquid, valve with handle, valve with wheel, and valve. And then we got pipe for steam. Freight pump. So let's start with the core. So try and get it all in frame here. So here we have the steam generators. Obviously the green. There's two types of green pipings. There's a solid and a dotted green line. The solid green line would be for the pipe, the liquid pipe, and the dotted line would be the steam pipe. So let's try and see. So that's the generator turbine, that's the turbine, vent valve, bypass, the cooling towers. Down here we got the external coolant reservoir. So we'll look inside this box for now. So also we got the core vent which goes out to the atmosphere, and then we have a relief tank vent valve which goes also to the atmosphere. Here is the main core, and this is the outer core vessel that contains the water. So you have the steam generators. These yellow pipes would go into the core itself with the way the arrow is pointing. Then we have the condenser room, level 0. So we have so obviously we got the vacuum retention tank here. Then we got the condensate return valve, which goes into the condenser along with the vacuum pump, which also connects to the same pipework that would go into the condenser. Then you have the suction intake. The suction intake will suck the steam, I believe, and pump it through the vacuum pump, which then obviously leads out to the yellow piping. Then you've got the condenser suction, which is sucking the steam into the part of the start location of the steam jet injector, which goes into the retention tank. Then you have the thin lines. So these are the dotted thin lines, which is for steam. So the steam comes out of the turbines A, B, and C. Then it travels down into the operational motive steam inlet, which then also has a junction to the startup motive steam inlet, which again goes into the steam injector. Then we've got the other thin line going across the back here. So this would come out of this would come out of the turbine A bypass valve, and it would travel through and then into the startup motive steam inlet, which then connects to the steam jet injector, which goes into the retention tank. Then the liquid from the retention tank comes out into the suction intake and gets put through a vacuum pump and then into the yellow piping. The orange ones are for steam. So the A5, B5 and C5 valves come from turbine A, B and C. So A5 valve comes from turbine A, B5 comes from B turbine, and C comes through the C turbine, which goes into the condenser. Of course, you have another bypass valve here. Then you've got the B4 valve MSCV and the C4 valve MSCV and the A4 valve MSCV. Here we've got a solid green line, which is the liquid. So this green line would be the condenser drain valve, which goes into the condenser evaporator pool back of building. Then from the cooling towers, you have the D1 pump, which goes into the condenser. And again, you've got another condenser pump that goes into the condenser. Then you have the outgoing from the condenser that goes to the cooling towers. The steam from the steam generators would come from the top and through and just work the way through into the valve and the turbine. Same with this one, that does the same. It goes up into the pipe, into the MSCV valve, B4 valve, into the turbine. Then you have another one which comes out the top, so this would be I think this is loop 3, or the generator C is loop 3, and then you got loop 2 and then loop 1. I'm pretty sure that steam generator C is the loop 3. So back in the condenser room, we have a A2, B2 and C2 pump. all of the steam comes out of the condenser through the valves of A6, B6 and C6 if you've got all three loops. If it's only the one loop, then it would go through the C6 valve and the C2 pump, which comes out and travels all the way up into the steam generator, which then in turn obviously comes out, goes through a C3 valve, a C1 pump and a C1 valve, which then goes into the core vessel itself. Same with generator B, goes through B3 valve, B1 pump and B1 valve into the core vessel, and again generator A goes out of the bottom, A3 valve, A1 pump and A1 valve into the core vessel. Then we have the grey pipe, which is the solid one, and it's a liquid. So the liquid from the core vessel comes out and in through the A2 valve up into the steam generator A, B and C. Then you've got a connection from the C1 pump coming through to the cooling valve spray, which goes into the top of the pressurizer. Then the steam from the pressurizer will come out into the pressure relief tank, which in turn would store the steam from the pressurizer, which then you would vent it out to the atmosphere. Obviously, we got the core pool pump, which works two ways. It can drain the outer vessel back into the core pool coolant tank, or you can pull it from the core pool coolant tank into the outer vessel to fill it up. Then again at the core vessel, we have two green solid lines. These are the steam lines. No, these are the liquid lines. So there is one green pipe coming out from the core vessel all the way down to the ion column inlet valve, boron filter pump, and into the ion column. So these are the chemical chemical piping. Then you've got the ion column outlet, which goes through the boron filter pump, ion column outlet valve, and goes back into the core vessel. Then we have a orange kind of path here that goes from the chemical loading room, so the boric acid reserve, all the way up through into the chemical treatment room and down to the boric acid tank. Then it comes through the boric acid dosing pump and works its way into the core vessel. And then you've got the feed water pump, which comes from the primary circuit coolant tank into the core vessel. But you also have the primary circuit coolant tank coming out from the bottom with a purge valve. Then we've got black piping. Obviously it's solid, so it's liquid. So the black piping would come from the external water source into the external primary pump, into the external coolant reservoir, and then from the reservoir into the internal primary pump, through the tunnel, into the chemical treatment room, all the way up, and it would split off. So depending which valves you have open, it will either go down the MO1 line, which is the cleaning water. Then you've got the water tank outlet valve, which goes into the cleaning pump and then into the ion column. Then you've got sodium hydroxide into the sodium hydroxide tank outlet valve and through the cleaning pump and into the ion column. Then all of the waste from the ion column comes out of the top and down and into the chemical waste, which can hold 200 kiloliters or KL, or however you want to pronounce that. Then we do have some white pipes, which is STGC, STGB, and STGA. These are the drain valves, which will go into the steam generator evaporator pool, which is the front of the building. Again, the black pipe would then obviously go into the MO3 or the MO2 valve. If it was going through the MO3 valve, it would go to the primary circuit coolant tank. But if it was going through the MO2 instead of the MO3, it would go to the core pool coolant tank. So of course, this is pretty much the layout of the piping in nuclears. So this diagram might be helpful for new beginners to understand what is being pulled from what and what is being pumped into what. So, like I said, this was a quick video. However, I did miss a bit down here. So obviously you'll have the tank which can then carry the fuel, which will go into the fuel pipe, which goes to a fuel tank. And then you have a purge valve, which goes to the fuel waste tank. In the previous version, there was no fuel waste tank for the tank itself. But the fuel would be drawn from the tank into either Genset 1 or Genset 2, depending which generator you start with. I always start with either 1 or 2, and when 1 is out of fuel, I would then run number 2, and while number 2 is running, I would fill the Genset 1 back up with fuel, ready for the switchover. But with the DLC diesel generators, they burn a lot less fuel and they last a lot longer. So yeah, this is the diagram of the nuclear power plant piping and plumbing diagram. So you have your reactor core containment room, which is L0, which is level 0. Then you have the generator turbine room, level 3. Then you have the condenser room, level 0, which is on the same floor as the reactor core containment room. And then you have the chemical treatment room, which is level 0 to 2. And the chemical loading room, level 2. So level 3, level 0 and 2, level 0 and level 2. But yeah, this diagram is available in the Nuclear's Discord, the Discord server, and I will show you where I'm seeing it. So you'll find it in the piping and plumbing diagram up to date as of update 2.2.24.191. which has all the piping diagrams as I've just shown you. So you can find that here in this guide's channel on the Discord. But yeah, that was a quick video. It's just me trying to help you guys understand the piping layout of what's going where and what's coming from what, basically. Because there's certain things where you don't actually know where most of the steam is actually going to, but this diagram will help you out tremendously. It, like I said, it might feel like a lot to look at and take in, but if you do it like block by block of the sections of the plant, you'll slowly understand the entire mapping of the entire plant layout of the piping and the pumps and the valves and all that. So thank you for watching. I hope this video was more informal for you. Until next time, I will see you on the next one.